Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with our first semi-finalist, the 9-time GSL champion Terran in the blue. It's the man, the myth, the Maru, facing off against one of the best Protoss players in the world. In the red, the mysterious MaxPax, in a best-of-7 Terran versus Protoss showdown for the semi-finals of the Revival Star League tournament. Before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, or maybe even subscribe. And we got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,838 likes on this video, on this cast. And I'll cast another one. I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better. As the first Reaper pops in, the Stalker will stalk it in turn, and a shield battery on the way. Maru already with a second command center, but both sides playing it relatively safe to start things off. A shield battery back at home for MaxPax. A command center on the high ground. They're both going to be able to go about their early game build until we get to the inevitable Blink versus Widowmine drop or something along those lines. And it seems like exactly what we're going to be doing here in game number 1. As the playbook for Terran and Protoss is not just followed, but written by these two players. MaxPax, probably the most Protoss out there. You could argue Hero, but I'd argue Hero is something entirely different. Better? Wow, we didn't make it very long today, but Hero didn't make it this far. MaxPax, on the other hand, he's gone from someone who came into StarCraft 2 with his cheesy MaxPax build and unironically become probably the best macro Protoss in the game. As he can cheese, he will cheese, but he doesn't have to. And it's that option, that's that dynamic nature, if I was to use some more corporate buzzwords, that's most important. It allows him to have a robust synergy when it comes to potential outcomes, whether it's short, mid, or long term. And he's always looking to invest his time wisely. Though, there's only so much time before the first Widowmine drop comes in. And Blink is only halfway done. Of course, Maru knows that, MaxPax knows that, and the probes will have to go on the run. Immediately pulls away. The sacrifices are offered to the altar of the Widowmines. And retargeting, recalculating. You can retarget the Widowmine in the moment that it's locking on. The Reaper comes in to try to distract. One is cleaned up, another one. And the bit of prairie dog micro there, the will they, won't they. The flirtation of the explosive device in the mineral line. And overall, MaxPax diffuses the situation, but he hasn't denied it entirely, as the medevac is coming back around. That Spylon on the indicator, that's actually a Reaper wall jump, which I don't think I've ever seen anyone utilize so quickly. But of course, MaxPax covers all his bases, literally and figuratively. Now, Cloak Banshee is the next round, as Maru keeping tabs. The best way to scout your opponent is to try to punch them in the face and see how they respond. Well, or, you know, tweak them in the air, give them a little twist, if you know what I mean. Don't make it weird. Maru, already a couple probe kills, as definitely not anticipating the Banshee. He does have a robotics facility, but the Observer just started. So Maru's going to get a little bit more damage. The Stalker's blinking into position to potentially intercept. The single Widowmine still remains in the drop. The hallucinated Phoenix will scout that Maru's following this up with the most typical and most standard. It's going to be a tank push. But the Banshees have kept MaxPax at home, and he just started his third base, which means it's 2 bases to 2, and the worker count is about even. It's about the best case scenario for Maru right now, who's doing terrible, terrible damage. Picks off 4 more probes. The Nexus itself will get in the way. He'll scout the 4th base. Banshees go out. Widowmine comes in. You can't explain that. And the drop, the Stalker. Help me, Step Commander. I don't... Sorry. The Stalker was actually jammed in between the assimilators there, which... anything that drags his attention away while all this is happening gives Maru an advantage. This is such a tenuous time for both sides. Maru's gotten everything he could have wished for. He could have gotten a lot more damage. 10 probe kills is still a lot, but scattered over time is not as much of an impact. But the key part of all this, there wasn't a third base. Almost always, when you see a Protoss take significant economic damage to early game Terran, it's because they arguably overextended and took a third early. But MaxPax did not. He was consolidated on 2 bases. He had Stalkers. He had a Robo. But Maru still slipped through and now has a 20 supply lead with almost all of that. Actually, exactly all of that in Army. 48 workers apiece. And how many are... Workers is a term used very loosely, as now he's looking to seize the means of production. The workers are coming across the map to make their feelings known. That Protoss should no longer exist as quickly as possible. MaxPax is going for Storm, which is a dramatic and effective counter. If you can get there. The Stalker's trying to buy time across the field. The Cloak Banshee with barely enough energy for another Cloak, but he drags it across it and helps drive the Stalkers back. And that means Maru's going to be able to stim forward and scans, knows there's nothing out in front. The SCVs can buffer for all the shots of the Stalkers. The charge lots are nowhere to be seen. The Storm is done in 13 seconds, 10 seconds being chrono boosted out. But already the bunkers are being slapped down on the front line, and Maru is getting entrenched. He'll split, he'll stim, and a beautiful spread. I can't believe it's not butter. The Banshee taking some damage. The Widowmine's gonna do splash damage in turn. Softening it up, the SCVs will rack up a couple probe kills. The bunkers, from the few surviving SCVs, are an existential threat to MaxPax, not only breaking out of this base, but surviving in this game. As Maru has kept the pressure on, he lost 20 SCVs, but if it gets him the game in turn, it's clearly worth it. But MaxPax blinks down, looking to pick off one of the bunkers. There's only one siege tank to back this up. More medevacs coming across the map. The Marauders are just bashing through the Stalkers, and MaxPax looking the other way for a moment, trying to get some more pickoffs. But, well, goes for the front line. Empty bunkers, a couple SCVs, not getting any hazard pay, and really regretting that right now, but at least a single medevac comes around. There's plenty of medevacs, actually. 6 medevacs and counting. It's one of those scenarios where Maru clearly hasn't had time to really assess his unit. Did he not kill the Nexus? No, he ran right by it, which feels like putting the cart before the horse here. And the bunkers charging forward. He targeted down the Archon. By far the most dangerous part besides the Templar themselves. The Storms wading through it, but the Storms are Category 5. And a lot of the Marines wander back in. The medevacs are nearly out of energy. The Nexus is still alive in the low ground, and MaxPax still has an economy. Going forward yet again. One more Storm. An Archon merge can make all the difference. Another bunker comes up in the midst of everything. He takes down the siege tank, but that one bunker may buy enough space and buy enough time for Maru to break through the Nexus. The SCV says he's not getting paid enough for this. The Marauders will try to stim out of the bunker. One of them may survive. The Nexus is finally taken down, but the charge lots are upon the bio. +1 attack is done for Maru, helping out so much. Stims back, Nexus under fire, Storm over the top. A very optimistic move out of MaxPax, who's dwindled to 20 supply less now. As Maru continues his way across the map, he's rebuilt the SCV count, even though the ones on the front lines were slaughtered. They got the job done. The Storm knocks a medevac out of the sky, the rest of them overtaxed and underpaid yet again, but just enough, juggling the tenuous energy of the Templar in order to keep the Terrans at bay. And another medevac is taken down. The rest have barely any energy between them. MaxPax expands yet again. But Maru, wow, this was so close. Maru got way more damage done, but he pulled half of his workers to buffer. He pulled them in order to make sure his bio army still had the critical mass in order to get the damage. Whatever damage that might be. It's kind of a fluid situation. And now, the fact that MaxPax is still alive is a testament to his tenacity. But the fact his supply is so low is, well, one to Maru's. And now Maru, still on 2 bases, begrudgingly making a 3rd command center. Something that he rarely likes to do in this matchup against opponents he considers a real threat in the macro game. So MaxPax. Maybe Hero, but that's a different thing. The Storms and the Bio Army collapsing. The Archons merging at the last second doesn't get the other one. The Stalkers, these fights are so obscenely close. Archon, what a save! Slips the Archon into the Warp Prism, juggling 2 Archons, energy recharge. Storm keeps him off the ramp. The Medivacs, he's just been spamming Medivacs. He started 1 Viking just to deal with this singular Warp Prism, I assume. There's no hope of MaxPax ever getting Colossi. Even getting any more units is a struggle at this stage. The Ghost on the front line, juggling the Archons, feedback on the Medivacs. There's only a few units left over, but it might be enough. Oh my... Oh, sweet mother of mercy. Oh, sweet Tassadar, this micro. But, he misses 1. The Templar saves a seat for the Archon. 2 get picked off immediately. Saves the Ghost and the Medivacs. A counterattack. The Zealots on top of everything. EMP hits his own Medivac. Acceptable losses as he's able to drive back the Zealots. And MaxPax, by the skin of his non-existent Protoss teeth, will barely survive the onslaught. But for how long and at what cost? Another storm. The pylon, a tenuous link. I'm using that word a lot, and it's still appropriate. Wading through his own storm to try to survive. 53 to 57 workers in favor of Maru, but the Archon dunking the point home. 6 probes dead. Charge lots on the other side will be intercepted, and Maru has the economy. He has the army. He has the upgrades. And he has a very strong chance of bringing this game home. And oh no... The Widowmine, not enough to one-shot the Warp Prism. But you know what they say. That which doesn't kill you leaves you permanently scarred, traumatized, and wondering why only the Terrans are able to repair mechanical units and why we even bother at all as Protoss. Put that on a mug. Well, after what seems like about almost 10 minutes straight, really including the early harass, 10 minutes straight of battle, Maru with a decisive advantage. MaxPax has survived, but the gap between not losing and winning has almost never been wider. Maru's bunker / SCV all-in became something more. Just like his score. Well, wait a sec. Okay, whoa. Where did the command center go? This is awkward. And, well, it's a 40 supply gap. The command center floated to the 9 o'clock position. The reinforcements are cut off awkwardly. He might be able to warp in on top of the 3rd base. There's enough Templar that he's boxing out the main attack. Maru will come home to clean this up, because he runs the risk. If he loses too much at home at this stage, now that MaxPax has the Templar, he runs the risk of having to wade through storms. The fact that he's scanning for hidden bases tells you, he's like, did I miss something? Clem would have left the game already. Because, of course, Clem would have played Protoss. But you know who effectively taught Clem how to play Protoss? If only by being on the other side of the match? It's not a leading question, not a trick question. It's MaxPax. When Clem started playing Protoss regularly, it was very clear he was just copying MaxPax and doing an incredible impression. He's kind of got his own sort of style, much more heavy on the Robo and Colossus sort of play than MaxPax is showing here, though there's a Robo Bay in production. But MaxPax, effectively the template for Clem's Protoss, which has also struggled against Maru and his especially aggressive sort of style, his willingness to go all in. And, well, MaxPax has survived. But the Ghosts with EMP, Colossus is a distant dream. There's already Vikings. It's been a action-packed... He's got some Templar to the north, but I think Maru spotted it. And even if he doesn't, the storms from either side, it's just not enough. There's not enough left. Even without the EMPs, even if this entire army just was grabbed in a maelstrom of ridiculous storms, he has the economy, he has the production, he has the upgrades. Game number 1 will be going tomorrow. MaxPax. What an effort. But that's not how it works. We don't give participation awards. Maru just stimming forward, tearing through absolutely everything. Will knock down the Colossus, earns 3 Gs in game number 1. What a game it was. And it's just the beginning. We're just getting warmed up. Wow. Maru with the most Maru build. Not a desperation move to pull the SCVs. A calculated, not even a gamble. It's part of the timing. The SCVs are priced in. Because the mules will keep your economy running just enough to maybe reinforce the push. You're not expecting the game. Well, there are 2 options. Either the game ends one way or another. You get completely crushed, game over. You crush them, game over. Or you do enough economic damage by killing bases, mostly by killing the next side, especially the 3rd base, that it kind of evens out and you reset. And Terrans have some of the best units and best unit compositions to play that kind of low economy game. So, with that said though, we don't play best of ones. Though all I ask is for 1 like and subscribe. Game 2. Don't need to count. Speaking of 2 brothers, 2 SCVs, blue, dimensionally phased. All right, looking like I need reading glasses a lot earlier than I thought I would. How's the back pain? Do you remember installing StarCraft via CD? Okay, Grandpa. You're older than Maru. Which, you know, not. And MaxPax is actually 5 years younger than Maru. Which, okay, welcome to Celestial Enclave, where the builds are made up and walls don't matter. So, the worker-only path here on Celestial Enclave does not discriminate. Workers are workers. Technically, I think mules could go through it as well. Not that that is anywhere close to relevant right now. But allows Maru to put his workers in a more forward position. That position being the back of MaxPax's base. So, meanwhile, MaxPax will get in with a probe via the same angle and see a severe lack of barracks. And Willie spotted immediately. The fact that he hasn't scouted down here is already kind of surprising. He's building a zealot. He's sending the probes out. Come on, MaxPax, come on. And the bunkers per game. The BPG count here for Maru. There are 3 or 4 bunkers last game. We're going to start with at least 1 here. And this is just Marines. He's got gas behind, so he's eventually going to go for a factory. But oh, okay. MaxPax narrowed it down to what it wasn't. I don't know if he didn't want Maru to panic too early. He gets one of the SCVs, but there's another one. Will Maru send out reinforcements? Oh, he's just dealing with this here, but another bunker. I don't know why I said it like that, but the probes are pulled. The workers will suffer first. The blue mineral workers are always on the front lines. They're trying their best, but it might not be good enough. Down goes the zealot. The shield battery's still a long way off. And this bunker kind of chokes off the probes, even with the mineral walk. He tries to get the surround. Citizens arrest. Box him out of the bunker, but there's far too many Marines. 4 probes dead. The stalker was actually caught up on attack moving the bunker. So it creates an awkward scenario. But with the shield battery completing and the SCV taken out, the Marines are not enough. And MaxPax, at no small cost, will shut this down. And the barracks, scouting racks, we sent out. There's a placeholder bunker in the most literal sense. Because of this bunker, MaxPax can't really move out with much more than a probe, maybe an adept or something, but he just started Warp Gate. Because, of course, well, look at the worker count. MaxPax is behind, despite having 2 Nexi, as the workers had to be pulled in order to survive this at all. But honestly, I think this is about as good as it could have gotten for MaxPax while blindly expanding. Like, can I park here? Well, they didn't say anything. They don't talk, Sarge. Well, that's good. What do you mean, Sarge? I don't like their kind around here. We came to them. I knew you'd throw that in my face. I don't... Sorry. Well, there's a barracks mildly inconveniencing MaxPax. I guess he'll keep tabs on the stalkers based on, again, this time just shoving a barracks into his face. Maru's done a great job of forcing MaxPax to show his hand. Mostly because Maru's holding his other hand, and not in a consensual fashion. I mean, it's true, but it's gonna be Banshees. Again, another mess, but MaxPax, I'd say he slapped this down and comes out of it with quite an advantage. Maru has taken a third on the low ground, the budget base, which Blink Stalkers can maybe get a piece of. The Cyclone, but MaxPax micro's back. Not intimidated. There's a chance he could take down the supply depot. Juggling the stalkers with the lock-on so quickly. Did the bunker... Okay, so he saw the tech lab upgrading. So... Wow, this is some beautiful finagling here. I think that's the technical term I'm going to use. On the stalkers. To just jostle them around and minimize the Cyclone. It's very easy to get... kind of trip up your stalkers on their spindly legs, especially on ramps. But MaxPax, as we've seen... Despite the struggles in game number 1, clearly his micro is not the problem. It's just preparing for Maru's uniquely committed style is usually the biggest struggle. But the shield battery is near perfectly timed. There's an observer not too far behind. There's still the shield battery in the main from past shenanigans. And enough stalkers. Look, another bunker. What is that, bunker 3 this game? Actually manages to pick off a few more probes. But the blink stalkers can just go right over the top, though. He's gonna ghetto blink back with the prism. And this may turn from a defense into a foothold. Nope. Nope. The stalkers have very weak feet. Banshee gets caught on the other side. Maru taxed a little bit too heavily and ends up losing track of the Banshee. And that's actually a huge deal. The Banshee was not really a threat unless it went completely unchecked. But without the Banshee as a both literal and kind of mental weight at the back of MaxPax's base, there's nothing stopping him from focusing on the micro at the front. Maru is tucked in and literally bunkered down. But he doesn't have enough units. Remember, he built 2 barracks on the other side of the map. Only one made it back home. He doesn't have the economy nor the production that he did in the last game. He's trying to pretend like he does, though. Has 3 racks and double engineering bay. He does have 3 command centers, but MaxPax, something I noticed compared to the other top Protoss in this matchup, Hero and Clem, who are, again, such a very different style. Oh, intercepted! The Banshees will be knocked out of the sky. Anticipated this move. And MaxPax, another big snipe. Further compounding the lead. Wait, where did the Banshee go? It's not even on the minimap, I swear. The minimap cut to... where are my pixels? You know, an observer actually skirts the edges of the base. There's a Raven at the front, but the observer came in the back. Which, clever move. I had a train of thought with that derail. Oh yeah, MaxPax much more careful about expanding quickly. Hero and Clem will both expand recklessly and be willing to give it up if needed. Whereas MaxPax is clearly intending on keeping his bases if possible. He expands when he thinks he can defend it, as opposed to putting it out there and forcing his opponent to take issue with it. Maru is trying to break out of his own base. The sentry's there for a force field on the ramp. Guardian shield also good, but... Okay, 2 siege tanks. This is getting a little painful. Does he have the gateway production? 7 gates. And Still some more stalkers, but there's still a bunker in CJ. I think he noticed it. No, he's just transferring. Scanned forward. Notice there was no observer, so actually snipes off the sentry with a cloaked banshee. And now extended thermal lance has begun for the Colossi. Mine much further along, and the warp prism. Maru's not cutting any corners here. Despite it, he's still trying to keep an edge. As a bunker at the back, one marine in it, just so it has. So that lights up the bunker, you can tell. With units in it, any amount of units, even in SCV, you have that light on the bunker that most players will see and just assume there's enough units. And MaxPax isn't going to go far enough to check. It's just a little detail, but it kind of shows you how strung out Maru is at the moment. And now we got to ask the question, does he pull the boys? Because Maru does not seem to be intent on any further tech progression. Despite his economy, he's got 55 SCVs. But no more. He's not building an armory. He's not getting a Ghost Academy, an additional star. Put the voice! Never change, Maru. It's like, I haven't for 15 years. He's been doing this for 3/4 of MaxPax's life. That doesn't make it less dangerous, as we've already seen. But there is a Colossus. Make that 2. The Raven? Quite an important part of this. Dorito dusting the Stalkers. And the Colossi, actually about the best he could hope for. The Zealots will cut down the reinforcements. And Maru, he's got to go forward, because he can't go back. MaxPax clearly has the economy. There's a Banshee in the main, but there's enough pylons. He's trying to depower as much as possible. But here comes the Terran army. Through all the fire and fury. The SCVs trying to get to the front line. Extended thermal lance is complete. Another warpin is ready. A third Colossus has hit the field. And the anti-armor missiles, incredibly helpful. More bunkers. He's trying to box him out of this attack entirely. A single Colossus is not enough to stop all of this Terran. The anti-armor missile runs out, but the bunker drawing fire. The siege tanks with some punishing volleys. The army supply is dangerously close to even. The robotics facility nearly dead. The marauders were pounded into oblivion. And Maru, despite the danger of this moment, still playing it patiently, knowing his best chance is drawing MaxPax into that fateful fight, rather than stimming up a ramp and hoping for the best. But here comes MaxPax from both sides. All sides. Charge lots from the back. Colossus in front. Blunks down. Knocks out the bunker. Maru taps out. We're all tied up 1-1. MaxPax with a very concise and decisive cleanup. And he ties up the series with relative ease. Just shut down the cheese. I think he knew from the moment the probe came across, he was like 85% sure that Maru was proxying in his base. But he didn't send a probe down. He preemptively made the Zealot and sent it right at it. That is, like, it's the map for that. It's almost cliche that he did that. I'm a little disappointed in Maru that he didn't come up with something a little more clever. But MaxPax, I think, fully expected Maru to do something like that. And even then, 2 barracks in the back of your base are dangerous. There were a few moments there where, without such near-perfect probe micro, the mineral walk, and the shield battery, like, it's so easy to just lose if you misclick for 1 second. That's this entire game in a nutshell, but especially in that scenario. When you boil it down to one moment, that's what cheese does. All right? It distills the game into a single, maybe single second, and puts it all on that. And Maru has favored... So, it's so clear who he thinks is actually good at Protoss. I think it's a little bit of both assessment and a bit of disrespect, but you have to earn respect. The way he plays against Classic, the way he plays against Creator in Showtime, is so much different than the way he plays against MaxPax and against Hero. Against those Protoss, he will go to the extreme late game. He'll build 20 orbital commands. I think I saw that at least a couple times. There's a video from maybe a month ago where probably has a bunch of Liberators in the thumbnail. He just literally makes a wall of orbital commands. But against MaxPax, who's micro, who's not going to get drawn into those fights. The respect is real for MaxPax. I'll say that. And I think MaxPax has that respect in turn. It'd be almost impossible not to, considering Maru is Maru. Wow. We've had first Proxy Rex, but have we had second Proxy Rex? Now this is a bit of a macaroni and cheese sort of build. He has one non-proxy and one proxy. So, trying to mask the fact that, oh, he's faking. He's delaying his orbital command. I would give you a strike on Angry Coach for this. If you were a Diamond League Terran, and I know that's most of the demographic in the comments, don't do this. Just don't. Don't try this at home. Well, maybe something like this, but this is one of those things that only works because MaxPax is so good. He puts down this command. He still hasn't built an orbital, which is a massive hit to his economy. But he's doing everything he can to make this look like a normal 1-Rax expand for MaxPax. But he's getting concussive shell. It's a Marauder all in. And there's probably going to be yet another bunker. MaxPax is going to counter proxy. He doesn't... Does he know? Because he didn't even go up the ramp to see the gas. Is he buying what Maru's selling? Or is he just like doing this as a matter of course? Like, this is a good build against someone who's doing a 1-Rax expand. You can keep the pressure on. If they're getting a little great, like they do a Widow Mine drop, you just punch him in the face. So, how does this end? Maru just started his main orbital command. But 2 Marauders are about to hit the natural. And here we go! Bunker number 7 or 8, I don't know. The pylon under attack. Surprise! Not a fun surprise. But an adept. He's targeting the SCV. There's only one SCV on this side of the map. It manages to shade away in time. The bunker is canceled. The Marauders are coming up the ramp. Concussive shell is an existential threat to all these gateway units. The probes, a gateway's opening up. Warp gate's already done. That's how late this is hitting. He warps in 2 stalkers because he does have that second gate on the other side of the map. And that might be a saving grace. If he wasn't going for the quicker proxy and warp gate, he might already be dead. But the fact he was counter-cheesing Maru is giving him an opportunity to drive this all the way back. The probes buffering. The workers have suffered so much in this series. And I doubt this will be the end of it. He tanks the hit to kill potentially all of the Marauders. And that's it, I think. Maru is driven back. MaxPax knows, yeah. Where did the Marauders come from? They don't grow on trees. Meanwhile, a bunker is on the way on the other side. 9. Maybe Jimmy will have a little counter there if we're feeling spicy. It will finish. But Maru does not have anything going for him. MaxPax is just going to walk by. He holds the door open with the Adept Shade. Now the SCVs are pulled. More Stalkers warped in. A single Marine in the bunker. The Marauder won't make it. The SCVs trying to hold the line. He could probably just kill the bunker. There's only 1 Marine, but why bother? It's only 1 Marine. Targeting the Marines as they come out of the racks. More of the boys! There's only 4 SCVs mining. And a couple mules, so that makes up some of the difference. Bit optimistic to drop a mule there, Maru. Meanwhile, a single Marauder. He's actually still rallying Marauders in. Microwing back. Maru, the SCVs again. The Stalkers are badly bruised. The SCVs as well, but only one of them can repair. Maru trying to drag this back. The SCVs, Mineral Walk. There's a Marine in the bunker. He can only move so far. The SCV's getting an uncomfortable amount of Stalkers kills, but the Stalkers killing the Marauders back at home. And Maru without Marauders, well, you can't spell Marauders without Maru. And now Maru can't spell anything at all. Well, 2 G's. MaxPax holds. MaxPax with the counter pressure that I don't know if he suspected the proxy or if it just kind of worked out for him. But the fact he was going for a quick gateway rush gave him warp gate and enough units in time to defend Maru's third SCV pull / bunker rush all in. All right. MaxPax takes the lead. And even at the end, like, it's a lot jammed into so little game. Many of these get, well, that game ending before many games I've seen, especially of Maru, even having a unit lost, maybe besides one worker. He's more than happy to play that long-winded macro game against less accomplished, especially Protoss, but really any race. Well, would he do it again? It's Maru. There was a time. Didn't think he would. I just wanted to. Off I go then. Reaper proxy. I just wanted to see where'd he go with it. Okay, reset. My brain is recalibrating. So many different varieties of designated pressure. And make no mistake, there's no one-size-fits-all defense. If MaxPax had done a standard blink build, I think he dies to that last build. I think he did successfully get bamboozled by the expanded. So, for comparison, Hero sends a probe out at the beginning of the game. He is up in your grill before you could even really comprehend what a grill is, or comprehend how that made any sense. Whereas MaxPax is sending it after Gateway. There is a full minute of difference, and that minute is about the build time of a barracks. So, MaxPax not hurting his own economy just to usually annoy his opponent. And honestly, that might be part of why Maru goes for, is favoring that. What? It's just Marines? It's a proxy factory? I mean, I'll be honest. I have no idea. There's a lot of angles this could go, but I've not seen anyone attempt this in such a fashion lately. It is just tucked into this look. Is he gonna scout it? I think so. The fact that the Marine is here. Uh-oh. Well, but why is the Marine there? Oh, come on. You're not selling that. Oh, get on. Why is the Marine sitting there? The only saving grace is that he finished the factory. If that SCV died, Maru may have left the game. There's a tech lab on the way, but what are you gonna do? Proxy a tank? Who proxies a tank? I don't... He's gonna finish the tech lab, but and the starport's on the high ground. Cyclone does make more sense. Maru's starting to become a bit of a broken record here, but the attempt cancels that starport like 90% of the way to completion, like it's a StarCraft Ghost game. And well, this one seems to be falling apart quicker than any of the rest. We haven't even seen a single bunker so far. But the Cyclone will still come out. He just can't build another one. He's using Stay in the Trees. But the factory itself can be used to scout. But the longer Maru waits, he can't get out because of the Zerg rocks. He's got to try to bust his way out here. But the floating factory helping out a lot. A second Stalker comes down. But Maru may actually escape and at least make it back home. Looks like he wants to expand, which does seem a little optimistic considering... Though it's a command center on the high ground, of course. Well, here we go again. Don't tell me we're going to have a game without a bunker. He doesn't have any barracks at his base. If he gets Marines back, Both? Wait, 2 barracks? No, that's a factory. You can tell by the way it is. Isn't that neat? Cloak Banshee on the way. The Cyclone tried to escape back up the ramp. The probe body blocking for a split second, but he can shut the door in the Stalker's face. The Marines on the... Don't expect some of us in the wreckage, brothers. And then left behind. And there will be 1 Cyclone. And maybe a Banshee without Cloak against 7 Stalkers and an Adept. It's a slow warping. And just going straight through. The Banshee's done. There is no blink. It's just straight up gateway units that he focused on the moment he realized he was dealing with this sort of style, we'll call it, again. The supply depot. It's not quite enough. He's wasting a lot of shots on the supply depot. The SCVs will suffer. But that's just another game. Either you work all day in the mines or you die at the front. Take your pick. It ain't me. It ain't me. There's still a reactor left all alone, which is quite depressing and uniquely melancholic. The Banshees, I don't know if they can leave. Cloak is done. He's trying to bait as many shots as possible. Finally, the wall is broken down, but the Banshees will drive everything back. As an observer has begun back at home. But, it'll be quite a while until it gets across the map. Maru has to know that. He uncloaks. A tank is finally done. Give me my bunker, Maru. Oh. Observer will spot the Banshees. They'll fly by it, but Stalker's warped in at home. A secondary observer. Right on top of it. He will cloak, but it does nothing. Still gonna get a few probe kills. Punching through the shield battery with enough damage before they can reshield the probes. But Maru has no real problems at this point. Sorry, MaxPax. Maru has some more issues. He has 1 base to about 3. He's down 12 workers. His army consists of units that cannot actively fight if anything can see them. The Stalkers, their blink is done. So is the tank. So is the clone. Splitting the damage on the Stalkers to prevent overkill. It's actually just... Well, the observer is on the wrong side. There's 1 Banshee, but there's still a pylon. Like, he's still warping in Stalkers. The observer gets taken out, which means the Banshee has like 2 more seconds of impunity. But MaxPax, and now a warp prism, and I think it's almost all over but the G's. Maru with his 3rd attempt at a proxy, not even a bunker. Well, it won't live to see the light of day, but it did see the production tab, so we're counting it, just like we're counting match point for MaxPax as he slaps it home. That's 3 in a row. Maru. I can't believe the 3rd proxy was so easily sussed out. If the starport finished, it gets a little more complicated. But it was greedy to build it. If he had built the starport a little further away, it likely completes. But he wanted to get it as efficiently as possible. And those few seconds made all the difference. That's what I like to tell everyone. Don't, Maru. He wouldn't do it 4 times in a row. Jimmy, that was the perfect setup. He wouldn't do it 4 times in a row. Well, the SCV would be sent out at the beginning of the game if he was going to go for the proxy racks. That doesn't preclude any sort of all-in cheese. Absolutely not. But, it reflex. And this time, MaxPax is sending out a probe at the beginning of the game. We're on missing you today. One of our Team Liquid map contest maps. The very unique look. I kind of, like, it commands your attention. Just like whatever the name of the map means. Which is a bit forlorn, but... the MaxPax build! He's doing the MaxPax. Not just any build, but the build that Beastie Cutie, who, like most non-Korean Terran players before Clem, eventually retired to AoE 4. But Beastie Cutie discovered MaxPax. I think he could at least credit that. In this build, when MaxPax was crushing the ladder as a complete unknown, and now he's barely more known, but still. The just one gate proxy, he kind of learned, even then, while it's a cheese, it's still somehow works. Because, now many players kind of assumed if you were going to do a proxy, you still had to have a gateway at home. And eventually you do. But, especially if the Terran doesn't scout, which a lot of Terrans, especially Maru, have a tendency to be very light on the early game scouting. They prefer to either proxy and scout that way, or just see what happens. But MaxPax uses that against them by simply proxying a single gate. This allows him to expand and do his normal build, but also potentially ruin Maru's. So, MaxPax gracing us with the MaxPax build. What a recall back. And it very well could work. This is the perfect scenario. Why is Maru so suspicious? What? Maru's going for the gold? And the gateway will be scouted. I don't even know if that's the normal scout pattern. Or if he's specific. Abandoned ship bunker! It's bunker time! He's gonna go for a hidden gold base. I'm not calling him a gold digger. But a hidden gold base and hold the high ground. And he scouted this while it was still in the Zealot phase, before the Cyber Core was done, before he could build any Stalkers. So, those Zealots just have to wonder why that Protoss' iconic warrior is essentially just a tall dude who slowly walks towards anyone with, like, a horror villain. Oh, there are 2 gold bases. Yeah, that top right corner, it's... Now, the thing is, this map is definitely not played as much. It is well known that MaxPax is a total ladder hero. He probably plays the most games of maybe literally anyone in the world on the ladder. This map is not on the ladder. It might be, if enough people vote for it in the Team Liquid map contest, but that means there's a chance that he just doesn't know it that well, because most of the map pool for this tournament is normal ladder maps. There's a couple spicy ones, but like this. So there's a very real chance he just doesn't factor this in. And the idea that Maru would take a hidden base is not... Well, it's another sort of proxy. But a very different one as well. I think Maru kind of intentionally building another command center well in range. It's still an efficient place, but building it in range of the ramp so the Adept Shade can see it. So it doesn't... I think I just saw a camera move over there. Is that MaxPax? The Reaper... There's still the proxy gate, by the way. This is not something we could just ignore. And Maru certainly shouldn't. Closes his door again. That's what I get for going outside. That's what I say every time. The Terran isolationist policies are well documented. Ooh, MaxPax at possibly the least effective timing. We'll try to come up the ramp, but the moment the tank is sieging, the command center's already finished. Blink is... Wow, Blink is already done. So, MaxPax barely missing a beat. I don't think he's not thinking about it. I'm pretty sure it was Maru's camera I saw flicking over there. You can see on the mini-map, of course, in case you haven't noticed over the last several years. That requires them to be playing on a certain observer mod, but Almost all tournaments do nowadays. Unfortunately, that Observer mod also resets unit skins to default. Because there were some issues early on with competitive advantage with certain skins that were kind of hard to distinguish. And so we just don't have them in tournaments ever. Except in like 2v2 tournaments, which can't use the same one, so... yeah. I think it's kind of dumb. But anyways, I digress. In case you're wondering. The players may very well be using skins on their units. I doubt it, but we would not see them, neither would their opponent. So, like, the opposite of every free-to-play game. The Stalker's blunking in, even after being dropped out of the prism. He spots the starport timing. That gold base, though, what he doesn't know, can very much hurt him. The current income gap, like, MaxPax, if this was a 2-base Terran, this would be so good for MaxPax. Even if he loses... The prism gets out. Does the cyclone projectile? It won't funnel across the map. I think he broke it. Like, he's got a 3rd base on the way. Maru's going for a 2-base timing, or so it seems. Now, will he notice? Is he starting to get any feeling about this? Because Maru took 2 gases at his natural, and he only has 9 SCVs mining minerals, which you don't do. Because you need as many minerals as possible. But Maru clearly has it. With the gold base, his income is... well, he's got the lead by a significant margin, even though MaxPax has more workers and a 3rd.
Our pylon is under attack.
Maru, he knows there's a 3rd. He narrowed it down here. But this does seem to be the one weak point here of MaxPax, is not registering. It's very hard to judge. But I think Maru may have had the right of it here. Now, does he pull the boys? Now, yes, but not for the reason you might expect. And even with that 3rd gold base, MaxPax is still going for Colossi. He's going to have a strong ground army. It doesn't necessarily mean he can't hold. It just means that... oof. Maru will have a lot more behind this than MaxPax might expect. As he filters his own units through the semi-wall. Not a single SCV pulled. Just suspicious in and of itself. More zealots coming in. MaxPax hasn't even acknowledged the northern half of the map. Meanwhile, the Marines in the face of the Colossus, but it's only one, which means they can shrug off some of the thermal lances. Widow mines help deny everything back at home. And Maru has 30 more army supply, and a lot of those units are caught between a rock and a hard place here. The siege tanks, oh, that is a nasty, nasty spot. Oh, he can fire over the top. I don't think anything but the Colossi or maybe Stalker's in a horrible position. Oh, Maru's in such a good spot to pound the point home. The Immortal does not live up to its name. The charge with perfect timing. Maru unsieges, and at that moment, the charge slots come in. The Stalkers will fire down. But the Bio Army is still... oh, look at the supply. Maru just has so much. And what MaxPax doesn't know clearly hurt him. It's obviously the Marines and Marauders that are so dangerous, but he underestimated Maru's capability. He probably is feeling a bit surprised at the sheer strength of this push and the fact there are so many reinforcements coming across. But it's almost all over but the G's now. One Colossus badly bruised. That's not nearly enough charge launch. The Marauders just punching their way forward. He's dropping Widowmons on top of everything. And he could retarget. He fires on the Colossus with all 3. JJ! Maru's still in the running. He did another proxy, but this time, he just moved his money around, which is a much more high-level play. Some white-collar instead of blue-collar crime here from Maru. And it's a lot easier to get away with that. So, Maru survives. I'm almost certain MaxPax immediately went to the replay. And in 2 seconds, maybe less, realized exactly what happened. Replay, mini-map, okay. As, while these players usually don't get a lot of time between games, you can just directly go into it, if you'd like. So, Jimmy! Well, we're getting down to it. Can Maru pull it off again? So far, his victories have been an incredibly well-timed all-in, and then a hidden gold. Whereas MaxPax has slapped down every attempt at direct cheese, which begs the question of why Maru bothered at all, but Throne of the Dunes, where fear is the mind killer. Maru not sending an SCV out, which bodes well for him. It's interesting that so far 100% of proxies have failed. I'm not counting the command center. That was more of a narrative choice, but MaxPax proxy that last game. Failure. I do think, therefore I am, but try to collect my thoughts, but I've got so many different directions that are going to sound contradictory, and I can't decide on it. Which, why speak at all? You got to fill time, right? Like and subscribe if you're filling plenty of time right now. We're pretty deep into the series, and you're like, I haven't liked and subscribed yet. That's the best I could come up with. Jimmy, we're going to do a better bit for the next one. Yes, I have better. A little bit. Probe sent out pretty early. And there's a barracks on the top of the ramp, which is where they're supposed to go. A curious choice in and of itself. One gate expand, but after Cybercore. So gate, Cybercore, Nexus. A little bit more defensive. Some builds, like even last game, MaxPax went for the Nexus before the core. Of course, he also had a gateway on the other side of the map, so there were some other details different. We did get a bunker last game, right? Yeah. On the high ground to defend. But the bunkers have slowed down in quantity. This map is one of the definitions of a map that is more defensible. Is a ramp up to the natural. There honestly aren't too many in this current map pool. But this one's certainly lacking. And with no ramp to the natural, it's a lot easier to do things like tank pushes, like bunker all-ins, because you don't have to contend with both high ground vision and that potential choke point. Now, none of that really factors in when it comes to proxy starport for Hellion drop. Maru gonna gamble it on a proxy again. The starport out on the map because you can get the Hellions out before the medevac completes. So that way, by the time the medevac completes, you can already have the Hellions across the map. But MaxPax just sends an Adept and will successfully delay the command center quite significantly. This is like a TVT build with the starport thrown in for extra flavor. But Reaper Hellion up against double Adept. 3 Reapers and 2 Hellions should be able to deal with 2 Adepts. But I think MaxPax has his suspicions based on the command center timing and the fact it's Hellions at all, which is, I think, the first time this series. If he delays the command center any further, that's a huge stall in his plans. Oh, no. The SCV murdered in the workplace. And yet another one goes down, and the command center itself will be delayed for the second time. There's a single stalker in the main, but I don't think he suspects something so dramatic. Warp gate just finished, but MaxPax is supply blocked. Oh no! Maru helps him out with it, though. Kills 5 probes and counting. So there should be enough Orpans. 8 kills. He just kills the Adept. He's juggling. He can dodge the Stalker shots. Wow, that's a lot of damage. But there's an Adept in the main that has 4 kills. Not all at the same time. 2 SCVs in total. Meanwhile, Maru lost track of the medevac on the other side. Both players just slogging one another. 12 probes slaughtered. But MaxPax already did his damage on the other side. He prevented the SCVs from being made in the first place. He delayed the command center for like 30-ish seconds, which is another 2 or 3 SCVs, and killed a couple with the Adept. So he maintains a significant lead. There's a Viking, which is actually quite a danger to probes as well. Blink is 12 seconds. What is happening down there? Yikes. What is up with their faces? Anyways. Maru, where's my bunker? The potential Blink Stalkers coming across, and Maru with precious few units back at home. And also, very importantly, the starport's on the other side of the map. Which means no Raven, nothing really at home to defend. And without a Raven or a Viking, you can deflect the Prism, but you can't deal with it directly. Another tank comes out, he blunks in, tries to chase it down, he's gonna get it. Easily snipes it off. And MaxPax has the high ground now. There's enough Marines that he should be able to deal with this, but warps and more of the boys will be pulled. And Maru on the ropes. He's gonna lose his tech lab. He's already started a siege tank, so get at least one more. Trying to make sure the tanks stay in a relatively safe distance. But the production is severely lacking. The Viking makes it all the way back home after a Netflix-worthy journey. Meanwhile, MaxPax still keeping some Stalkers at home for the inevitable sort of counterattack. 4 Stalkers in the main, enough to snipe off. Tank pops out at a convenient... The boys on the way across the map. Maru is just sending it. He knows it's not going to get any easier. In fact, it might get much worse. But the Liberator killing several probes. MaxPax moved the Stalkers, assuming that Maru was done with the starport. He was setting it back at home, but he recalls back. But he missed the Prism. The Prism's just hanging out on the other side. The Liberator chased down. It should. It's not quite taken out. Siege is up. The SCVs, the tank will be... No! He missed the pickup. The SCV's on the front line. The shield battery heavily drained. The siege tank on the way. He blunks over the top, but he doesn't quite get the tank in one volley. That's a lot of damage. The Viking helping out so much. And, well, juggles it back. The Warp Prism, way late to the party. The Liberator is re-sieging, killing the probes yet again. And the Immortal will be gunned down. Juggling the Viking. He can technically dodge every single Stalker shot. And at the same time, the Stalker's being juggled in and out of the Prism. 11 SCVs dead. He's going to depower everything here. Actually, that gate, I think, has a secondary one, but the shield battery is depowered. That Viking badly bruised. The Stalker's coming down. The Liberator taken out, but there's still 39 probes. MaxPax has the economy, but it's about to be pulled off the line. The tank taken down in 2 volleys. The Viking targeted. The Marines spoiled for choice. It's a target-rich environment. Another Viking hits the deck, juggling the Stalkers. And so far, he's holding it together. The probes pulled, but only lost 6 of them. It's manageable. The Stalkers as well. Still, the damage, the single zealot, microwing back, gonna try to kill another probe or 2. Even 1 doesn't quite get it. Maru, back at home. He hasn't stopped, he hasn't given up, he has not surrendered. And he still has an army. But MaxPax, he slapped together his units out of position. It was almost the best case scenario for Maru. The Prism was not in the recall, which was quite a big mistake out of MaxPax. He was unprepared for the magnitude of commitment that Maru brought to the table, but he still managed to handle it. But only just. Thing is, does Maru, without even a single bunker, have anything to deal with this back at home? There's less units against more Stalkers. MaxPax maintained the worker count. Maru's forced to pull the SCVs that he rebuilt. And the Viking dueling with the Prism. He might be able to take it out. Another siege tank comes out. Both of them badly bruised. Another Viking on the ground. Actually incredibly good at 2 shots probes. And MaxPax is down to 35 workers against Maru's 34. The tank blinks in. He could repair, but the SCVs, they smell blood. But it's probably their own because Stalkers, I think, are entirely mechanical. And a bunker! MaxPax on the cusp of victory, but one bad blink, and he will never see it at all. The Warp Prism doesn't get targeted in time. A few Zealots warped in on top of the siege tank, cutting through the Marines, and it's just Marines and SCVs. And that very simply is not enough. The starport is coming home, but there's no home to go back to. MaxPax takes it against the #1 Korean Terran player in the world, or just Korean player in, no wait, hero. Enough about that. MaxPax with a decisive victory over Maru. A huge victory for him. Something that victories of this magnitude have evaded him, despite his checkered career. Wow. In one of the most intense series that I've ever seen. Quite truly. Both sides with incredible micro, but I think MaxPax just a little bit better. But thank you for watching. I certainly hope you enjoyed as much as I did, or some fraction. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free for now. You can see more streams on the second channel, Winter Gaming TV, for more RTS content. But hopefully you're content with this. Hopefully it made your day at least a little bit better. Thank you to our Mule Tier patrons, Big J, Devin Door, Kate, Mario Suit. Maru could have used some more minerals as well, but make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. And thank you for watching. Certainly hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you next time. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.